Hello, good afternoon or good morning to everyone. Welcome to the second day of our Romanian Workplace Management Forum. This year, unfortunately, it's a virtual event, but as usually, ROWMF tries to put together in our events all the know-how, all the energy regarding our domain, regarding facilities management and workplace management. Today, we have a very interesting, let's say, group of panelists, professionals, experts. In the name of ROWMF, I would like to thank them for their support, being with us for this event. And in order to, let's say, start directly all our topics, I would like just to introduce them and of course to start with our first key speaker, Pat Turnbull. But first of all, let me introduce our panelists today. Of course, Pat Turnbull, she's a global co-chair IFMA Workplace Evolutionaries, IFMA WE, and you will find today what is WE, Workplace Evolutionaries. She's president at Workplace IQX, and also she was lecturer to UCLA. Alexander Athanasoulas, most of you most probably know him. He's president, CEO of Styrixis Group from Greece, but also very, very active in Romania. And he's, let's say, a friend of ROWMF. He attended as panelist at other ROWMF events. We have also Paul Bagust from RICS. He is Global Property Standards Director. Welcome, Paul. We have three architects today. Anda Manu, she's managing partner AMA Design. We have Emil Ivănescu, also architect. He's the chairman of the Order of Architects Bucharest branch. And we have Tudor Ionescu, head of advisory and transaction services for Office CBRE Romania. We have Mike Apoianu, Managing Director, Romanian Poland MySpace, very important and well-known co-working space here in Bucharest. So I'd like also to thank you to all our partners. First of all, our gold partner, Workspace Studio, Herman Miller, authorized reseller here in Romania. We have also two silver partners, Green Forest, also one of the most important Romanian office furniture manufacturer, and Sorantis TFM, facility management service provider, also a member of our association. This event is organized with the support of RICS, the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, and of course Archibas Solution Center Romania. They are providing us the platform GoToWebinar for organizing all our events during this period. We have two very important associations cooperating with us for the success of our event today and yesterday. We have, first of all, the Order of Architects in Romania, a Bucharest branch. Then we have ErgoWork, the Association for Ergonomics and Workplace Management in Romania. So I would like to, first of all, to go directly in our topics. Like yesterday, we have the same topics, four very important topics, but today you will see other point of views. You will see other opinions from workplace management professionals, architects, top managers in real estate, and so on. So it's my great pleasure for the first time speaking in Romania, even virtually, let's say today, to let Pat Turnbull to speak about, let's say, the impacts of current challenging times on workplace management. Generally speaking, if you, let's say, think about workplace management and what workplace management will become in the next few years as, let's say, as a profession, as a domain, keep in mind that Pat Turnbull is one of the, let's say, pioneers and the initiators of this workplace management movement, and you will see more about Workplace Evolutionaries Initiative. So, Pat, thank you very much. Good morning. You are in Chicago now. It's quite early in the morning. Good morning, and thank you again. You are with us. Please.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. It is such a pleasure to be here with you, speaking from Chicago. We have a beautiful morning, a beautiful day, and now we're going to have all this extraordinary learning on top of it. So I'm very, very pleased and excited and honored to be here. Let's see, I'm going to see how, whoops. Let's see, my screen is not advancing, so let me see. I don't know why. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh gosh, having a little technical problem. Oh, here we go. There we go.
Okay.
So obviously the world has been turned upside down. We've been hearing about that. And we ourselves are in this very fast and iterative process of learning as we react and respond to the changing needs in the workplace. And I think from everything I read and I'm experiencing, there's so many unknowns still, and we're working our way through it as we move along. This graphic I thought was excellent. It was presented by Marie Puy-Barreau from JLL. And what I liked about it was it sort of laid out a client journey map as we move through the COVID crisis. And it deals with both the emotional side and sort of the mental and activity side that we have to deal with. And much like any crisis that we go through, it began with shock and denial and disbelief. And it slowed us down in terms of realizing what needed to be done and how we needed to proceed. But we moved through shock and realization and began to respond in various ways. And if you see here, sort of in the middle, we have this this bucket where we're adapting, we're changing, we're implementing workplace continuity programs, we're evaluating, we're doing scenario planning. And now at this stage, we're at that interim re-entry stage. And there will be many or several versions of re-entry as we move through. But before we go there, I think that, that we have a great opportunity here. It's not often that you're forced to stop and think and observe and imagine what the future might be. But from a workplace perspective, this has catapulted us into the future. At least here in the United States, we only had about 3.5% of the workforce that was working from home or working remotely. And now we have 85%. So it has absolutely pushed us in the direction that we as workplace strategists have been talking about for a long time. And I believe that we'll come out and we will flourish in the long run. The question, of course, that has to be answered as you move into re-entry is, will our offices and schools be safe for our employees, our children, our visitors? And so, there's this iterative process that we're going through of figuring out how to do that. And at least here, we're looking at it sort of in a two-phased approach. There's the pre-vaccine and what we need to do now, and then there'll be the post-vaccine once we have better solutions to containing the virus. So we're looking strategically from a workplace perspective at preparing not only the building, of course, but the space inside, and then also, from my perspective, very importantly, from the people perspective, because you have to move minds and hearts, regain trust in order for people to be able to concentrate and move back into whatever the new normal might be. So I won't go into a lot of detail, but obviously many of us are involved in developing FM action plans. Those include, you have to understand what the state and country guidelines are, assessing your specific buildings and technology capabilities, coming to the forefront and critically the cleaning and disinfecting protocols, HVAC system enhancements to give us better air quality, policies, security, building capacity, planning, regulations, all of these things are going into sort of the planning and the evaluations of how we move forward. This was a very interesting conversation. It was put on by Gensler not too long ago, and I'm sure the other fabulous architects in the group will continue with this. But I like the idea of thinking about how people move through the building or move through the campus and the space. And how fast design strategies are really changing in response to the COVID. Pre-COVID, it was all about hospitality and density and more collaboration and shared desking. And almost on a dime, we pivoted. And now all of a sudden it's about health, safety, and wellness and regaining trust over the long run. So some of the strategies that are very popular and being discussed and being deployed have to do with, if you think about like airports, how people enter into a building or a campus, where they can be tested, infrared screening, UV sensors, temperature gauging, and then looking at the building and thinking about how do we make this touchless so that, again, there's less chance, lower risk of infection spreading. So automated, voice-activated technologies or different kinds of automation, very important. And I would say finally, the third technology has to do with air purification systems, because all the research shows that you can have a very high impact on health and wellness through better air filtration systems. Other design strategies that we see, this actually came from Cushman Wakefield, and they had a very interesting idea around, they called it the 6-foot office. And so they took the ideas of social distancing and circulation and a change in utilization, and they made it visual. So on the floor, they had these visual circles so people would know, well, how far away is 6 feet? And then cleared circulation paths outside of those circles so people would know where they could walk and not. And campuses are expanding that and using that same idea on the outside. So what we're seeing is bigger circulation paths, a very significant reduction in density in and around the buildings, and a new look at collaboration and how we're going to do that safely. Of course, virtual collaboration technology has now absolutely skyrocketed. As I said earlier, we have about 85% of the population who were forced into learning Zoom. Even my, 85-year-old mother is on Zoom now, and she calls me for advice. So, if she's doing it, it is truly a trend that now is irreversible. as it relates to the workplace, we're also seeing very creative ways so that you don't have too many people coming into the building at the same time or on campus. So they're talking about staggering shifts or creating different waves so people don't have to be on rapid transit all at the same time. And we see a shift to moving towards more assigned seating, or maybe only 1 or 2 people will share a seat. They'll come in at different times during the day. In conference rooms, you'll just reduce the number of chairs in the conference room to accommodate the limit that is supposed to be there. So if there's only supposed to be no more than 10 in a room, you'll only have 10 seats. And then spreading out collaboration spaces, collaboration seating in the common areas, again, to just, it makes it visual for people and real, tangible for people to understand and be reminded of those social distancing requirements. There's a lot of conversation here about hygiene and cleaning protocols. And something that I had not really thought of myself was the distinction between cleaning and disinfecting. So many of the businesses here were using cleaning products, but they didn't necessarily have the level of alcohol that would actually kill germs. So now there are, certified products that have been identified so that you can have multiple stages of cleaning. So obviously you've got to get the building ready, and everything has to be disinfected and clean. But then there are areas that are high touch areas, and so maybe those will be cleaned much more frequently. And then others, sort of broad disinfection on a weekly basis or a nightly basis. The research shows that the single most important things we can do to reduce the spread of the virus are wash our hands, wear a mask, and practice social distancing. And it's staggering. It's something like and even if you're not perfect, the reduction in the risk, you reduce it by 98%. So, some very, very simple protocols can really help with containing the virus. In terms of work from home, and here in the US, this study was done by Global Workplace Analytics, Kate Lister, and she basically came out and she said, well, the genie is out of the bottle. So we went from 3% to 85% of people working from home, and by far, the majority. It's interesting because people don't want to work from home 100% of the time, but they love the freedom and the flexibility of maybe the sort of the sweet spot seems to be 1 to 2 days a week. And of course, that helps with your protocol at the office and staggering your shifts and reducing our traffic on the road. The other thing that came out of this study was that in the past, middle managers were the biggest problem in moving towards a more virtual environment. They wanted to see people at the office. They didn't, there's that trust factor. They got to see that people are there, that they're doing their work. And through this whole COVID experience, those middle managers have been having to work from home themselves. And so they're much more open to this idea, and the teams are learning to work together. So sort of through being forced to do it, we're moving much more rapidly into the future of work. The third element had to do with the economics, that this is a very as CEOs and the C-suite looks at real estate costs and productivity gains, there's some very compelling arguments around continuing the work from home experience. And of course, the positive impacts on the environment are undeniable. But a very interesting thing came out of the research also as we looked at working from home. Now, one would think that the older gen, the boomers and the Gen X, would not be as comfortable because they don't know the technology as well, and that the younger gens would be, you know, we should have been doing this all along. But the research that we did showed that the boomers felt more successful than the Gen Ys and the Gen Zs because they, number one, had larger home spaces, so they had a place to work at home. They know what's expected of them at the office, so they just moved, you know, where they were doing their work was not as important for the most part. And they felt less stressed in terms of not having to commute, and their socioeconomic surround was their family. So it was much easier for them, whereas the younger generations felt isolated. They have less experience, so they didn't know what was expected of them at the office. And very interestingly, they didn't really like the exposure of the video camera in the home because they have smaller spaces. Students in particular felt that it was highlighting sort of an economic divide. I think we have to pay a lot of attention to, you know, how people feel, and make sure that we're in these work from home programs, that we're providing training and support, and you know, almost, you know, those one-on-one conversations to make sure that everything is going well. And again, you know, continuing shortly with that conversation about the people, you remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know, we have physiological needs, air, water, shelter, sleep, clothing, and safety needs, which we're dealing with now in terms of personal security. And then that love and belonging, and how important it is, especially for the younger gens, to have their time to socialize and learn about other people and other families and other cultures. And so we're going through sort of a very interesting time as it relates to human emotions and capabilities. And finally, I can't stress, you know, everything, we will fail. Any program will fail if we're not dealing with the human side of the equation. So I think the importance of the vision, of communicating the vision, the what we're doing, why we're doing it, who's doing it, how it's being done, and sort of a little bit more focus on real change management programs where you're creating the case and staying in tune with how people are responding is absolutely critical, because in that change management, we have to deal with culture, and we're changing behaviors now as people come back to work. Our processes are changing, our policies, not only the space and the infrastructure in the building. So those are, and you know, and I guess in closing, I would say that our leaders are being asked to do something that they've never been asked to do before, and that is not only lead us through a crisis, but create the future at the same time. So it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of energy, personal energy and team energy, to stay on track and to believe in the future and to, you know, work through all these iterations. And you'll have access to all of these slides, and here are some of the available resources, and a great pandemic manual that was recently published by the IFMA Foundation. Christian, do you want to pause here and go to the other speakers, or do you want me to continue with what's new with we and what we is?
Thank you very much, Pat. Let's go to the other speakers, let's say, to tell us about their experiences during COVID, and we'll come to you and we'll discuss more about the we later on. Thank you very much, Pat. I would like to mention to all the audience, if you have some questions, please use the questions area in the GoToWebinar control panel. So I would like to ask Alexander, what do you think? How do you assess the impacts of current challenging times? Because you are, let's say, a managing director, you are a chairman, you are a leader, a CEO. So you can see here in Romania the latest developments. You can see the developments in Greece or in other countries. You are in contact with architects, designers, building owners, and so on. So please, just in short or in few words, what do you see it's happened right now?
First of all, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be part of this. I think it's extremely important what ROWMF is doing, and I'm very glad to be part of this panel. And thank you for your kind words, Christian. I enjoyed very much Pat's introduction and the slides that you presented, Pat. I agree very much with everything you said. What we are witnessing around the world, because Styrixis is a company that has been designing workplaces for the last 25 years, and we've done projects in almost 25 countries. What we're witnessing is a huge acceleration of the trends that were almost already being there. So remote working was 3%, but it was growing. It was something unheard of a few years ago. Technology had helped us go to that direction. A bit sad part about social isolation had also increased this need. E-commerce and e-everything has also enabled us to do that. So working remotely, not working from home, but working remotely. We had this discussion last week, Christian. There's a difference based on generations there. So for Generation X or baby boomers, remote working means working from home. For Generation Z, Generation Y, it means working remotely. It can be your local Starbucks, or it can be whatever you want. It doesn't necessarily mean working from home, so there's a big distinction there. But for sure, whether we like it or not, there has been an acceleration, a huge acceleration in the model of working. And what we need to understand is that whether we like it, depending on which generation we are and which hat we're wearing, that of the employee, employer, part of the team or whatever, it's going to stay. So other research says it's 20%, 30%, 50%, 40%, it doesn't matter. A big percentage of remote working is going to stay. So the questions we need to ask when it comes to workplaces is, who is not going to work from the office anymore? Who is going to work from the office? How we can actually transform workplaces to accommodate the new needs? How we can transform the relationships we have with the people that will not be working from the workplace? Talk about psychological safety, talk about employee assistance programs, talk about the general discussion about culture engagement. There are a lot of topics that we can open. But the real question is this: if we are to support, for Styrixis, it's our clients, to redefine how workplaces need to be post-COVID, we need to open our minds, because this is not about a slow change. This is not even about an exponential change. This is about a transformation. So we need to redefine the workplace in a totally new way. This is what we believe, and this is what we work for with our clients. We do work, as Pat said, for phase 1, which is returning to the office pre-vaccine. But at the same time, we have a very strong medium and long-term vision of how workplace will be. A lot of other things come into place. So from AI to mobility to a lot of things that will eventually very fast and very soon add to that transformation. And we need to take all this in account, because workplaces affect the performance of the company, business continuity, the fame of the company, the financial situation of the company. So we need to take all this into consideration. I will close. I won't say more. Just one thing. We're talking about how people behave, and Pat said that there is no way we can solve this situation systemically without addressing the needs of the people. There is a huge difference if the vaccine is ready in October or if the vaccine is ready in March, because the behavior that evolves through a 3-month change, a 6-month change, or a 9th month change is completely different. Yeah. So if we end up with a vaccine that we can actually be safe with in March and it is available in June, then trust me, the transformation will be much more violent than what we expect. If it's in October, a lot of people will think momentarily that okay, it can be a little bit as back to normal. It won't, but
yeah.
Okay.
So this is my idea.
Thank you very much. Keep your ideas. We'll discuss more when we'll talk about coming back into offices. Then we'll talk about the workplace design. So I would ask I would ask Paul how you and RICS is looking to this tremendous developments in the last few months. Paul, can you hear us?
Which Paul?
Yeah, I can hear you. My connection. Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna. Okay. I hope you can hear me. I may be on I may be on a delay. I'll speak and then we'll go. So Pat, great presentation from Pat, and very much in agreement with everything that's been said. And I think that the thing that Pat said at the top, which was really encouraging, was the opportunity and the challenge that we have in front of us. And I think that's something that we're looking at RICS in terms of how we focus on that. And the other thing that really has jumped out in the days and weeks that followed COVID was how critical this profession is. And I think perhaps people didn't recognize how critical this profession is, but the phone calls I was getting from investors and banks, and everyone was saying, what are we going to do about the buildings? Who's going to keep the buildings running? What are we going to do when we go back? Who's going to help us do this? And it was all about people who are workplace professionals and facilities professionals. So I think that recognition that this profession is the one that's going to be driving all of this innovation and change and experience. And the other thing that's jumped out, even on the call just now, is the huge breadth of expectation and skill that is required to be effective in this role. I mean, we've talked already about sustainability, we've talked about HVAC systems and air filtration, but we've talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So people in this profession have a huge responsibility. They're psychologists and philosophers, and they're operational and they're technical. I mean, so what's really stood out is what a brilliant profession this is, and how much responsibility sits with us in order to kind of lead the way. And I suppose from an RICS perspective, that's fantastic. And then the other thing is, how do we meet that challenge? And probably a theme of the day, perhaps for me, is going to be around data, and how do we use data to analyze data to demonstrate the connections between safe buildings and high performing buildings, and how people are experience a building between how a building might perform sustainably, and those connections and those relationships are complex. And we're working on a global standard on operating buildings that is data led, that tries to bring some consistency to those challenges, because I suppose the final point is people in this profession are going to find themselves being asked these questions. They're going to be in the C-suite. They're going to be asked finance questions by the finance director. They're going to be asked HR questions from the HR director. They're going to be asked location questions from the business, and they're going to have a lot of questions. And I think having good data and even the work from home experience data is fantastic, that we're learning so much so quickly. I suppose the opportunity is huge. My sense is, I think people are understanding that we shouldn't rush into making decisions, and we should analyze, take some time to understand the data and reflect a little. And I think that's a very sensible approach. There's a lot of media talk about the office is over, etc., etc. So I think my initial sense is, the resilient profession, the resilience of the profession has been phenomenal in terms of the response. The short-term response has been amazing, just in terms of keeping hospitals running, keeping buildings open. And then the opportunity that we're sitting with is huge. So we have a responsibility to ensure that we have professional people in the right places making the right decisions. And we have data and we analyze it, and we're able to present that. That's my, I guess that's my summary of what I heard.
Paul, we cannot hear you.
But fantastic presentation. Completely.
Okay, Paul, we have some technical issues.
It's a very thing to
okay, Paul.
on in the files.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I think there is an issue with your connection. No problem. Thank you very much. I would like to ask you more about your standardization initiatives later on. Now I would like to give the opportunity to Tudor Ionescu from CBRE, so to see the point of view of a property management big company and also an architect, Tudor, and then Mike, please. So let's discuss now and to see the latest developments from a point of view of a property management and let's say a service provider. So please, first of all, Tudor.
First of all, thank you, Christian, for inviting me to this conference. I knew that at the beginning we were 3 architects involved here, all with different backgrounds. I thought this is going to be an interesting debate, but after seeing Pat's presentation and Alexander and Paul's intervention, I'm sure now that this is going to be a great talk, because it's absolutely a very varied topic these days, and it covers a lot of specialities. So looking back, I think I'm going to start with what Pat said, because it was a very interesting presentation, and I think the red line that links all our interventions up until now is this process of learning, that we are in a constant process of learning from what happened before, what happened in this small period that we just passed, and what is happening on our day-to-day things. I noticed that you put 2 slides from a competition of mine, but I'm going to give you some materials from CBRE also. Just 2 general notes on what you said, as I'm always coming into this discussion about social distancing, and I'm trying to rephrase it as often as I can to physical distancing, because we are in a period of physical distancing, and from the social point of view, we're trying to keep it together. And the second thing was regarding the last period, which was not per se a work from home experiment, it was a leave from home situation. And if I look at that, I see it more as a technological experiment, if you want to. And from this point of view, I think we all succeeded. In the past 3 months, we found out that we have the technology necessary to work remotely. We have laptops, we have computers, we have internet connection, safe access to data from anywhere. Therefore, as an experiment, as a technology experiment, we all succeeded in the past 3 months. Now, coming back to my field of expertise around the buildings, the office buildings in Bucharest, mainly the basic points from the last period, it's that for sure the health and safety concerns were the ones that put us in this work from home situation. And of course, the health and safety are the ones that are getting us back into the office. There are easily pointed out three stakeholders that control our return to the offices: the local authorities, which come with new rules and new regulation about how we behave socially. There's the landlord, which controls everything that happens within its premises. And of course, the companies that control everything that happens internally in their own space. But these are basic facts, everybody knows them. I would like to push this discussion into something more interesting and more relevant that we've done in this period, where we were, each of us, away from our clients, and we thought of a way to keep together with them. So once this period started, we immediately set up a strategy to have some informal online meetings. We call them Coffee with CBRE, and we had several exchanges like this, where we invite a few of our clients and we exchange the experiences that happened in the last period. And I think looking at all of them, all of our meetings like that, I can outline that there are two main categories. There are clients that had this system of working remotely, work from home, completely free before the COVID. And there were the ones that knew about it, but they never considered themselves suitable for it. So the adaptation period varied. Some of them went just like swimming as a professional into this period. Some of them, others, had a difficult time managing to find the right technology to do it. But in the end, it took them like 2-3 days to go along with them. So we asked them further on, what did they miss? All of the answers were regarding social interaction. Social interaction inside the company and inside the teams. And of course, social interaction regarding the clients that they were supposed to meet. There were technical departments which had experience and went working from home without any problem. There were sales department that had to have meetings every time with clients, with new clients. Those were severely hit. For them to have new meetings in this period was almost impossible, because of course the virtual part, as we are doing right now, does not stand for a fully physically one-to-one meeting. I think everyone felt detached from their own company culture. Everyone went through some intense and some uncertain period with a lot of emotions. And I sensed that in every discussion that I had was a very, very different personal experience and a very different personal input. And as a new thing that happened, and it's very interesting for all of us here, is that they are now all questioning the role of the office. I think this one is one of the main effects of this crisis, because it brought a great awareness about the role of the workplace. And of course, there's a lot of literature and everyone has an opinion on it. It's like politics and football right now, which is a very easy topic to go by.
Yeah.
And for us, it's absolutely great.
For great topics.
Yeah, it's going to be what I felt, and I'm going to close up with this. Amongst all the discussions that we had, is that the return to office that they passed during the last month gave an overall positive feeling. And that feeling stems on social interaction and on the reconnection to the teams and clients. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mike, I'm really curious, and I'm sure a lot of other attendees today are curious to see how you, as a very important co-working space in Romania, in Bucharest, managed to, let's say, to do your business during the lockdown. So try to speak us how you managed to do your business up to now, and then we have another discussion about how you will, let's say, develop your business, how you, speaking about back to office stage. But right now, please tell us how you managed to survive, to do your business more or less as usual during the lockdown.
Okay, well, first of all, has it been challenging? Yes, it has. Of course, everybody was affected. You know, we provide a service as an important service. And as much as our members liked being with us and liked and loved actually working here, especially when you have global guidelines and of course government guidelines that tell you stay home. It doesn't matter how much you would like to be outside, you got to respect that. So we were open, our offices were open all over the world, pretty much, and in Romania as well. We did have members that came in every single day, not many, but we did have some. And these are members that were freelancers, so they could decide by themselves. But again, Mindspace being a flexible office provider that is mostly targeting corporations, not freelancers. You know, having companies, basically 95% of our members are companies, and of course those had to go by the rules of those companies, which again said stay home. At the same time, we had a very close relationship. We maintained a very close relationship with our members online and calling them and finding out what's going on. We offered flexibility. You know, flexibility is basically the key and what we offer. And of course, we try to be as flexible as possible with our members as well, and with their needs and their challenges. And we received great feedback on that from our members, you know, and regarding the way we acted. We did hear a lot from members that they were looking forward to coming back to the office. And again, it relates to what everybody said, you know, up until now. Yes, we went from 3% to 85% working from home. Is it for everybody? No. So basically, some people are more efficient. Productivity got better. I heard that a lot. However, not everybody's in that case. It depends a lot on tons of different factors: kids, infrastructure, where you live, what kind of job you have. You know, Tudor was talking about sales, and so on. So it's not for everybody. It was good for some. It wasn't as effective for some. But overall, I think that the vast majority, and I think that research shows that already, vast majority of people, regardless of whether they were productive or not, or even if the productivity was even higher, they're looking forward to coming back. Everybody needs social interaction. Creativity cannot be done when you stay home and you just use whatever platform to communicate with the people. You need social interaction. So I think that the number of people that are going to stay home and they would just be fine staying home 5 days a week is not that high. At the same time, probably most people are not going to come back to the office fully. So it's going to be a combination of the two. And of course, everybody will decide how many days a week would work from home, or from the office, but it will be a combination of the two. Once things got better here in terms of people were allowed to go back to work, of course, Mindspace all over the world, we worked a lot on the same basically issues that everybody worked on, which means safety for the members, comfort for the members.
I can hear you.
Cleaning,
Okay.
social distancing, and so on. So we adjusted our spaces to make sure that we as staff, of course, but of course our members feel not 100%, but 200% comfortable being here. And for the last 4 weeks, we have seen the numbers going from 2-3 people that we had for the whole time, right, throughout the Corona period, all the way to dozens of people coming back. And of course, it's country specific. There are countries in which hundreds of people are back. There are countries which are a little bit behind, of course, like the UK, like the US, of course. But in Romania, we already have dozens of people. I'm in Mindspace right now. You can see movement behind me. So things are going back slowly to some kind of normality.
Thank you very much, Mike. We'll discuss about this normality. So you talk about creativity also. You talk about the need of socializing. I will ask some of the most important architects in for office design and so on. First of all, Anda, how was the lockdown for you? And I will make also the first move to our second topic, working from home. And first of all, I would ask Anda, how was the lockdown, and how do you see, as an architect, as a very well-known architect for office design, office spaces, the idea of working from home?
Yes. So first of all, for us, it was really challenging, because if you work in a creative business, then you really need your team around. Of course, we can discuss like we are discussing now, but still the tools that you have at the office, you cannot have them online in the same importance. So we are mainly designing based on behaviors. And I always said in the last period that we are talking about what we cannot do, what we cannot touch, how we cannot be one to each other. And I would like to focus on what we can do. So I would like to prospect a little bit the future of the office, because in our opinion, the office is not dead, but it will be completely transformed. And in our opinion, it will not be enlarged, but it will shrink a lot, and it will become truly the essence of what is needed. So now the concept of sharing desk, I think it will be more and more feasible, because companies would like to reduce their costs. We also have, for example, clients. One is in telecommunications, that they were just starting a new office, and 98%, I'm telling 98% of the people refuse to come back. And it's not about having a fear of the virus or having fear of meeting the other colleagues, but they do like to work from home. They say that they are more productive and they have more space for more time and space for them. Others, for example, in IT, we have another kind of very large one with over 10,000 square meters, and they said that they will not enlarge their office in the future, but for sure they will go on having only 1 or 2 days coming at the office, only if you really need to have a decision, or you need to have research, or have something creative. So this is a big switch, in my opinion. Let's say the impossible just happened. So we do believe that the next office should be rethinked, and probably it has to be as much as attractive as possible. So in order to encourage people to come back to the office, first of all, you have to have an office which is fully up to date with anything which means multimedia and communication. It has to be very attractive, so the design part will be very important, in my opinion, because it has to focus on not only on well-being, but also on really having all the tools besides me. And also, if you have a sharing principle or policy, for sure, anything which means reservation, if you have a team, for example, and you want to have the entire team near you, you have to have this reservation system that allows you to have all the people around you. And also, offices will be configurable. It means that you can add items like separations or tools or mobile whiteboards or anything which is flexible is really something that every company has to take in consideration. So actually designing on behaviors, and not only from sanitary, which of course they are very important, but not only on sanitary or facility or management principles, but really on behaviors, because anything we buy from the market is based on behaviors. Advertising is based on behaviors, so why not the offices has to be designed on people behaviors. So in order to encourage them to come again, and as Tudor said very well, and it's very interesting, yes, it's not a social distancing, it's only a temporary, we hope, distancing. I think most of the companies will look to have offices that are reduced in size, I would say less than 50% in my opinion, and they will try to make them as more attractive and comfortable as possible. So because really, as also Mike said, if you are working in a field which you need creativity, or you need research, or you need to have decisions, then you really need to meet face to face and have the discussion personally. Because even if you have, for example, on WhatsApp, if you go on a text, you have to be very briefly, and it doesn't express the human energy. So I do believe that offices will shrink, will become like a station office. You just come, pop in, do whatever you want and go out. You don't have to be at the office from a certain hour to the other certain hour, but it will be more about flexibility and efficiency.
Thank you very much on that. Keep your ideas when we discuss about the future and the future ideas and solutions. Yes. Now, speaking about working from home. Yesterday, and I will ask you, if you as an architect, and also this question is addressed to all the panelists. Yesterday we discussed about maybe the need or the opportunity to, let's say, come with a framework or maybe some rules as regarding working from home. So what we need in order to work from home, from a furniture point of view, from utilities point of view, from ergonomics point of view. So do you feel the need for such, let's say,
formal
rules or suggestions or framework? So Anda, what do you think from this point of view? Please keep in mind, speaking about working from home.
Yes, I will really redefine the work from home with work from anywhere. I think it's more interesting because, yes, I think people after 3 months of staying at home with the kids, with the, I don't know, the partners or mothers or whatever, I think they really need the social items. So working from anywhere, like coffee, even if it's a terrace outside, or from anywhere, from a park, if you have a good Wi-Fi connection or whatever, I think it will be the future. So working from home, it should be redefined, first of all. If you're talking about really what you need, it's very subjective. There are people who can work in any position, like just laying on the sofa with their legs on the table, or others really need something to stay at the desk, have everything at hand. So it depends on the business type and also on the each person. But for those ones, for example, who really need to work from a desk, like, I don't know, finance or any other in business that need to have papers around, so they really need to work from somewhere that have everything around, I would suggest for companies, for example, I will advise my clients to think about having some products or pre-organized, like pre-negotiated actually, so people can really buy a comfortable and ergonomic chair but at a very good price, or buy I don't know, the devices that they really need to perform their tasks. So the companies has to understand that if people are working from home, they do not have a lot of costs, so they can transfer those costs and helping people to be more creative and more comfortable working from home or anywhere. So just to mention that if you're working from home, you're not using the toilets, you're not using the elevators, you're not using electricity from the company. So this is really a great saving, also in facility, but also for the companies. So there is a debate on how to manage this work from home, from work from office.
Thank you very much, Anda. Emil, you are the chairman of the Order of Architects from Romania, Bucharest branch. So from the point of view of a professional association, how do you see the potential need of some, let's say, of a framework as regarding, or recommendations as regarding working from home?
Well, we are Bucharest branch of Order of Architects. Is the main branch of Romanian architects from the country. So we have something like 50% of the architects from Romania are in Bucharest. So we have a lot of people in the organization. Actually, when pandemic started, we don't have much time to put questions. So we have very fast to action. So why to action? Because each member normally has to have a contact with our office or headquarters. So we have in a very fast time, we have to make some procedures to remote everybody from here, the staff from here, and to start to work from their homes with architects. So we, in, I don't know, in 5 days or no, 2 days or something like that, we make a plan, a strategic plan, which contains 3 or 4 main actions. One action is about working, to remote working. So we put the technology and something like that to each of our staff to their homes to be in contact with the members. Then we make another action plan helping members. So we invented a program for senior architects to help architects in our branch, old architects. So we make like something like architects want to help other architects. Then we make another program helping society. So with some workshops, atelier, we make masks for hospitals. So our Bucharest branch work very fast on 3 or 4 dimensional programs. Actually, to be exactly in the action. So when people from our staff worked from home, they were very happy at the beginning. After 3 months, they say, well, we want to come back because here the staff is very, it's like a family. So they say, hey, when we go back, Now, in Romania, it's a state of alert, or I don't know in English how to say. And normally, not everybody should be in the place. But they say, no, we want everybody, all the staff to come back. So actually, we make a flexible program that the staff could go or back, and also the members or architects could come here and be in contact with the staff. Regarding putting all, I can say that all of my friends, me included, say that when they work from home, they work much losing time. So you work much harder, much better, or much more working from home. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad, but it's a new kind of feeling, this kind of working from home. If you have a home.
Thank you very much, Emil. Thank you, Emil. Pat, I would like to come back to you and to ask your opinion. Do you see a need in developing some, let's say, recommendations or a framework, some guidelines as regarding working from home? I'm talking about the workspace, I'm talking about the environment, the ergonomics, well-being, and so on. So to see all these aspects in their synergy and to come with a framework, to come with a guide as regarding what means working from home. What do you see in this? What's your opinion?
My opinion is absolutely yes. You have to have guidelines, and it's a very interesting question because in the past, and you only had maybe 3% of your, maybe your salespeople that were working from anywhere and needed to be out of the office. So the company did not take responsibility for ergonomic health in the home or having broadly based the tools to do the work in the home or out of the office. And so one of the things CEOs, and now it's going to be a policy, it's going to be a broad-based policy of some kind of, maybe, I hear it over and over again. People want to have the flexibility to work from home sometimes. Like I said earlier, maybe 1 or 2 days a week. But for the most part, it's that in and out, getting the social interaction, getting back with their friends at the office and colleagues. And so I think there'll be, some protocols, and some of it is legal, because what if you don't have an ergonomic chair at home and over time, there's some health issues, who's going to be responsible? If you don't have a keyboard, or maybe it's a height adjustable desk. Now that's for the office, that's not for anywhere. And then, protocols around knowing where your equipment is for the company, who's got what equipment, who owns it, where is it, when does it have to come back? So I think there's, and then people need guidance, what's expected, and also managers need training. People need training on the tools in order to ultimately be effective. So I think it's actually a pretty comprehensive framework that will need to be put together, and it will be helpful.
And who do you think will be able to develop such a framework? I'm talking about companies, organizations. In your opinion, who has to be in the forefront of this framework, or in developing this framework?
Well, it's a very good question. And, we've been talking about the fact that someone is going to take the lead here. And I think it might have been Tudor was saying, there's an opportunity here. And Alexander, we have, and Paul, talked about the resilience of the profession. And right now, maybe FM and workplace has, not been, highly recognized, but I think there's this opportunity, and it's really about orchestrating, because you need input from pure facilities, from HR, from IT, from you know, the C-suite. You need a multidisciplinary point of view and support to bring it all together. So it's really, I think, a question of who's going to lead the effort and make sure that all the functional areas have input, so that you have the output is as good as it can be for the company.
Thank you. Still, we need a conductor. Yes, please. Mike.
So, you know, Pat, you're talking about the fact that, you know, who does what basically here. There is already a case, I believe it's in Denmark, maybe I'm wrong, but one of those countries in which an employee sued his company and asked the company to pay his rent. Because he said, well, I'm working from home, then you need to pay the rent. So this is, you know, it's just the beginning. So I think people can ask for tons of different things. So who knows where it's gonna go? But you know, the initial step is there. I mean, someone already did it.
Yes, of course, Mike. Yeah.
Yep,
We need of course, exactly. And it's like an orchestra, and we need a very talented conductor. Am I right?
Yeah.
Paul, can you hear us? I know that RICS are running a lot of standards, and you are preparing some standards. So it will be very interesting to see your approach as regarding a potential framework regarding working from home or working from everywhere. Now, speaking about this, what do you think? What do you think, Paul? Paul, can you hear us? I think Paul has some technical issues. I will ask Alexander. Alex, because I know you are involved in. I put this question.
You see my smile.
Yeah,
I'm known for being provocative and disruptive, so I will not fail my reputation this time. I think what Mike said is very interesting. He said it's the beginning of it. I think it's the end of it. I think that what we're seeing, and I noted a lot of interesting words that all the panelists used, guidelines, framework, guidance, training, and a lot of things that everybody said in Pat last, repeated. I think that what we're seeing is slowly a completely different model of working maturity. I see a distancing between the structure of a company and the actual output of work from the people. So there will be a framework, of course. We need to have a framework. We need to have guidance. But we're seeing now a trend of people that are responsible, that have to be accountable, that have to prove their commitment by being far away from the company. And although this is extremely difficult, only this species of people will survive in the new work culture. I know it's extremely difficult. I know that for a lot of people, it's difficult to work far away from the office. I understand that some people want to come back, but it's a pendulum. You know, they've been away for 3 months under stress. Now they want to come back. They will be back for 3 months, and then they will beg to go back to their house to work. So we have to be very careful not to judge things by taking a snapshot of what is happening today. I think that what we're seeing is the loss of control between the company structure and the work that is being done. So we need to have frameworks, we need to have guidelines, we need to protect employees in quotation marks or not, but the new employee, the new person who is working will be responsible for the output, will be responsible for the ways and the time spent for the company, from where they will work, I cannot ensure that even if I give them a very nice ergonomic chair, they will use it. I don't think anyone will be able to sue the company for working longer hours, fewer hours, drinking a lot of water when they work, having a lot of noise, having food or no food or enough light. So we're seeing a new way of working, and this is completely different than what we have been doing now. And unless we change the viewpoint and we try not to judge things by what we have been doing up to now, we will not be able to move forward. This is my. I know that I'm very proud because our Romanian office and our country director Mihaela Dobra has been leading the trends committee we have. We have a specific committee that follows trends and has been building a very nice report. I can share with you if you want the report on workplaces of the future. But I think that it is important that we see the future not with the eyes of the past.
Very good point.
You are right. You are right, Alex. Let's go to the other topic, coming back into office. So looking into the future, and I would ask Tudor and then Mike, how you manage, how you identify new challenges and how you develop workplace management strategies as regarding this coming back into office stage. Please, Tudor, first of all.
Yes, I'm gonna add a little bit to the topic before of working from home, because this is a very interesting to me, as working from the office is highly regulated, so working from home should be. And it's an interesting thing regarding the economics of it and the transfer of payment that Anda was talking about. Having a person in the office costs a company between 500 and 800 euros per month. This is a cost that you put everything there, like the rent, the all the charges around the coffee, the printing, everything. This is a cost that in the end the company can think to remove from their own pocket by putting somebody to work from home. And this is a cost that can be translated there. And there are a few countries that have regulated working from home. I think France is among them. You cannot simply send somebody to work from home without having a certain space, accessibility, light, comfort, ergonomics, and so on. So that is regarding the work from home. And we've done a study here, a survey in this last period that we found a lot of surveys around the internet of how people are experiencing the working from home, and we tried to make our own study on the Romanian local culture, if you want to add that flavor to it. And it's free. You can search it on our app that it's called Q, and you can look further into it. And it's something very interesting also coming out from there. Pat was mentioning that before in the States there were only 3% working from home. Let me tell you, Pat, that in Romania there were only 1% working from home, and you can compare that to the European Union, where you have a 5% of people working from home. Each generation reacted differently to working from home. Some of them, like the younger ones, would like to have this opportunity to work outside the office premises, while the older generations that they have a much stable situation at home and not many young kids around and they have space for it, they would like to keep their daily balance like that and would have the option to work from home for about 1 or 2 days a week, slightly. Mm-hmm. So in the end, this survey shows us that everybody wants to have choice, actually. It's not a recipe that you can put to all the companies that this is the ratio for working from home, but everybody, every individual, every member of that company wants to have the freedom to choose. And out of them, in the end, some of them will keep working remotely. In my view, this won't go will be around 15 to 20% of it, if we'll reach that. And there are a lot of companies that we talk to right now which are asking us what is the ratio for us to work remotely, and we're trying to add the right answers by putting data to work into this. So we are becoming a more and more data-driven decision company, and we ask people how they work. And it's exactly what Anda said, like she's thinking about designing on behaviors. We are asking people regarding their behaviors, and we are structuring this data by having this completely interactive tool that's called the work mode survey. And we get, in the end, the numbers. How many of them want to have a focused environment? How many of them collaborate? Which is the type of behavior that they envision in their office? And it's different from generation to generation, from type of job to a different type of job. Some of them are more focused, some of them are more open, some are introverts, some are extroverts. But you get really a nice print of what you actually need to do inside your company and how you need to transform your company. So I think in the end, work from home just to reset our expectations for our workplace, and the choice, it comes now to personal productivity and social interactions inside the office, and the company need to balance this. What is the best solution for us? And our answers in this case is to have the right tools to extract the precise data that will, in the end, will remove the unsuited options from your table.
Just as an add-on to that, and I see it every day when I watch the news, you know, it's data analytics is not easy, because analyzing the data, you can pick out the point that you want to make, and it may not be actually what's real. So I think one of the next big trends is going to be, you know, this focus on how are you analyzing the data and ensuring that you're getting a fair and accurate view of what's real.
It's exactly like that. Lately, from all our surveys, we're getting a lot of emotional data out of it. So we need to be filtering that, because people are responding on impulse. They have a personal experience which was great or not so great, and they are putting a lot of emotions in what they do inside. Which is
also important, you know, to capture, but it's, you know, but you have to be aware, you know, as the, you know, as the person, the company that's interpreting the data.
If I can please add just one thing, because I agree with everything we said, but I'd like to put something in a different context. Of course, data-driven decisions are very important, but we need to be careful what we use data-driven decisions for, because Henry Ford said, if I had asked my clients, customers, what they would want, they would have said faster horses. So I think that we need to be very open as to what is our vision for the future of work, and we need to use data-driven decisions in building the roadmaps to this vision that is much more forward-thinking than what the trends and the past behaviors can show us. I think that today, because of the exponential speed of change, if we rely only on data-driven decisions, we will be always behind the curve. We need to use data-driven decisions to build the roadmap to a vision which is much more forward-thinking than what we can get from past data. At least this is what we believe.
Alex, and very interesting, Alex, and I will take the ball from you and I give the ball to Pat. Data-driven decisions. What about facility managers? Let's say more or less, are the traditional facility managers and the codes ready to manage these data-driven or to take these data-driven decisions, to face these data-driven decisions, let's say, trends?
Well, I think both Tudor and Alexander were absolutely right on. I mean, we're in a new age, and we have tools that do a lot of the gathering of the data for us. You know, so learning those tools, you know, and we have in our profession, you know, and in every profession, you have a bell curve of where people are on the talent and what they're good at, and some will be better at analytics than others and using the data. But if you're a manager and you are going to be pitching, you know, solutions and asking for funds to, you know, move the company forward in different ways, you're going to have to you're going to have data to support your feelings. And it's a balanced view, though. You know, this is some of it's subjective surveying, and some of it's very finite, you know, data that's been analyzed that, you know, that informs us about what the options are and what the probabilities are, and the softer emotional side versus the hard data side. And part of us being human is being able to look at those two different sides of the coin and make a recommendation.
Thank you, Paul, Pat. Paul, you are with us again. I would like to, let's say, ask you about RICS projects regarding the new standards, because we are talking about working from home recommendations or framework. We are talking about data-driven and so on. How RICS is preparing these new standards and is addressing these new trends as regarding facility managers and the professionals in facility management and workplace management? Paul, please.
Oh, hi. Thank you, and apologies for my my technical issues. I hope you can all hear me a bit better. I think I caught the end of that. So it's a really big question, but I think this is something that is absolutely critical as we look forward, and probably has been for a long time. Is the ability to firstly ensure that when people come into the profession, they have the ability to understand and analyze data. That should be a critical competency in terms of professional development. And that's something we're absolutely trying to embed in our existing pathways. But the piece I'm really looking at is the standards conversation, and you know, we're very active in terms of developing an international standard for operating buildings. It's a data standard, but what it does, hopefully, is I think, as I touched on earlier, is recognize that. And it essentially breaks down into different sectors on compliance and cost and sort of building use and function, which are the inputs, and then the outputs being sustainability, experience, well-being, etc., etc. So we're trying to bring in all the elements of data, so including the well-building standards, the Leesman standards, the BREEAM standards, etc., into one kind of consistent approach, so that you can understand which levers you need to push and pull when you're looking at your building performance. But and I think it's just really critical that we have that consistency to enable those data-led decisions that you can present and say, actually, we've considered that for this building, which is a school, that, you know, we've considered all the issues, but the decision was, you know, we made this decision for those reasons. Or whereas in our brand new office, we made this decision because, you know, we invested some money because we really thought there'd be a return on that. So I think it's the connection and the relationship between cost and function and compliance with experience and sustainability and well-being and all of those issues. So that's the standard we're working on. I'll be in a position to share it with everyone fairly soon, within a matter of weeks, just to show you the model and get some input. But we're hoping to have something produced and ready to go early next year.
Oh, great.
Thank you. Great, Paul. Very, very interesting. Alexander, I remember about 1 month ago, we discussed together about the opportunity and the need for standards regarding building operations, regarding workplace management and facilities management, regarding health and safety in the offices. Can you tell us about the latest developments and let's say your experience in Greece about this kind of standards, because it's a very interesting project you mentioned.
Yes, we have created a model of applying new standards to workplaces post-COVID. It takes in account, it's called Humans Matter, because I think that's spot on as a name to exactly what we discussed. Humans matter. I think that this is the whole idea. So we have standardized a lot of different elements of workplace based on the health and safety protocols that are in place in different countries. In each country, they're different. They're mostly the same, but there are small differences, and it depends on which phase each country is in. We have redesigned offices to take in account these safety protocols. So health and safety has been redefined. We were talking about wellness. We were talking about the well certificate. We were talking about things which were nice to have. And we're back to a very generic form of health and safety. So we have redefined this in workplace design. We've worked with a lot of companies lately, a lot of multinationals, to actually ensure the safety of the workplace. This is important, as we discussed in the beginning, for the psychological safety, which drives engagement. I heard, I don't remember who it was, someone said that 98%, I think Anda said that about a company in telecommunications, 98% didn't want to come back. So it's not only about coming back, it's about how you feel when you're in the office. What is the whole process of going to the office or leaving the office. So you need to make an environment that really talks safety. You walk the talk and you communicate that as well. And then we need to talk about the environment, not only in it being attractive, as Anda said before, but in it being uplifting, if you want. So we're seeing a loss of corporate identity to a more comfortable environment in the trends that we're looking for, to a place that you can feel more homey and more comfortable in that sense. But again, based on who's going to work from the office, we're seeing a trend that offices will be used where only there is value coming from the meetings and people being there. So big presentations to clients, important decision-making meetings, middle and higher level management mostly. I know that when I say that, people look at me and say, why do you say that? It doesn't sound nice. It doesn't matter if it sounds nice or not. The meetings that will be valuable will be taking place in the office. The meetings that can be done remotely or virtually will be done through the platforms that we all use. So we need to upscale the workplace environment, and this is what we're doing. We need to make it uplifting and comfortable, and we need to make sure that everything in place talks about safety, whether that's safe access, like we discussed before. Access, again, based on the more free, if you want, period of time we'll be working, will be more wide in terms of hours within the day. And we're redefining through Humans Matter that workplace for stage one, which is restarting the business, and for working for stage two as well. And we've been doing that with a lot of cases. It is important to understand that a lot of the things we say are not very easy to happen. We do talk about them while looking back. I was today in a big pharmaceutical multinational. We are designing the offices, and I was surprised to see at all the desks the picture of everybody's children, their families, their personal items. And when we talk about shifts, and when we talk about hot desking, and when we talk about, you understand that all these will go away. And a lot of engagement and a lot of feeling of belonging within the workplace, although we are talking about shifts, will also go away. So we need to understand how the behavior will change and adapt to that our workplace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Pat, please. You have to, yeah, okay. Mike, how
Okay,
you feel coming back? Yeah, Mike, how you feel coming back into MindSpace premises again?
Look, I never stopped. I came back every single day. It's okay, you know, the team, and again, as I said, some of the members. But let me go back for a second to home from work, and you know, when I think of sorry, work from home, obviously. When I think of a work from home, I'm thinking, where is the work-life balance? Are you in the office? Are you at home? You spend 24/7 in the same space. You work there. You have your social life there. You've got your family life there. Everything happens there. So my question then is, do you work from home, or you sleep in the office? I mean, what do you have there? Is that the office or the home, or both? So this is my interpretation of working from home. As I said, I don't think it's easy. Again, some people may do it, but in the long run, as Emil said, the beginning was great. People were excited, but after a couple of months at home, most people, I'm not going to say all people, but most people are probably eager to come back and to probably split their time between work and home, of course, with more flexibility. And as some people mentioned here already, flexibility was what people liked a lot during this period. The fact that they were able to do different things and to choose by themselves when and what. So going back now to MindSpace, since flexibility is the key to what we offer, flexibility in terms of rent periods, right? Going away from long-term rents of 5 years, 7 years to monthly or 6 months or a year. Flexibility in terms of growing the number of people that we have or decreasing the number of people that we have. Basically, you know, MindSpace has been in Romania for 1.5 years, and we spent a lot of time up until now educating the market. We were the first ones to come in with this concept of flexible offices for companies, not individuals. So we spent a lot of time explaining to companies why it's so important to have flexibility and what you can gain from that. And guess what? Now, 3 months into this COVID period, in a way, this situation did a lot of our work, educated the market, and companies understood how important flexibility is. And Anda mentioned earlier, and people are eager to go out and to work from anywhere. I think that it's not necessarily going to be work from home, but it's going to be office and remote work, which could be done from different places. So remote work is basically what's going to happen. Now, regarding what we see, it's actually very interesting, and again, related to everything I said so far, and to the flexibility that people realize that they need. In the last 3-4 weeks, we've had more leads, so more companies looking at us than we had in Q1. And it kind of, in a way, proves the point. Companies are already looking at these alternative solutions and going away from the longer-term commitments to shorter-term commitments. And again, the keyword being flexibility. For now, we see it a lot with the smaller companies, up to 25, 30, 35 people. The global ones are still under the global guidelines. Stay home, no decisions yet. A lot of those are still analyzing, but we see movement and we see questions from them as well. However, the local ones that have the ability to decide already, they take action. And we have companies looking, and we already signed contracts already. We've done it, and we have companies that are looking to enter our spaces in September, October, whenever their leases are up. But yes, they want to switch from long-term commitment to short-term commitment to this kind of, again, flexible concept and flexible office. And we even had a couple of global companies that are already looking to move next May, again, to see how companies already think. So we're talking about May, so 11 months from now, but they're already looking into the options, and they're already looking into conventional lease or traditional lease, or flexible office. And basically everybody here mentioned the fact that offices will decrease in size. Yes, if you have 100 people, not all 100 will come into the office at the same time. So you probably need an office of maybe 50, maybe even less, right? We see that a lot. We see these questions from companies that are simply, this is exactly what they do. They say, okay, I've got whatever, 1,000 square meters, whatever the number is for 100 people. I don't need that anymore. So not only do I need flexibility, and I don't want to go away from 5-7 year lease, right? I also need to cut in space, cut costs as well. So I don't need 100 working stations. I need maybe 50, maybe 30. So it's a combination of flexibility and financial efficiency in a way. And of course, cutting costs, which I guess is good for everybody. But we see that a lot. And again, we've been busier than we were prior to Corona. And I give you the example of Q1. So we do expect this trend to continue. And globally, this is what we understand, that from, everybody's talking about the fact that co-working, flexible offices should be a good alternative to that remote work that companies will implement way more than they did before.
Can I ask a question on that? I'm just curious how critical location is to this conversation in terms of sort of city centre location. So particularly in London, just where I'm based, which is so heavily dependent on public transport and people's just huge reluctance to use public transport to get to work. We're seeing an awful lot of flexible workspace being developed outside London, on the outskirts of London, in previous areas perhaps which were underused and underdeveloped. Is that a factor in terms of when people return to work, moving away from the city centre and the hub and spoke model essentially is what I'm asking you. Is that something that's being seen elsewhere? I'm only really familiar with London.
Well, it's interesting. As I said earlier, everything depends on countries. It's a country-to-country thing. It's a cultural thing as well. For example, in Romania at the beginning, on June 15th, when things got open again, a lot of people were talking about their fear to use public transportation, and that was kind of the reason not to return to the office at that time. Things got better since, and again, we see the numbers. In London, for example, we're opening our third location in London. However, I think that the flexible office will now probably also shift from maybe center only or business districts only to closer to where people live.
Yeah.
So other areas of the city as well, which again, that will provide the employees the ability to have remote work close to where they live. So again, eliminate long hours in traffic, eliminate maybe public transportation, and so on. So yeah, this will probably happen as well.
Which I think creates.
So the office will come closer to the employee, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's definitely what I'm seeing, which raises some really interesting questions around the role or the future of the huge New York, Paris, London, those huge cities, 10, 12 million people, and what purpose will they have in the future? How will they look in terms of housing and entertainment and work? I think I don't think we know the answers yet, but I do think that's a trend we're going to see a lot more of in terms of seeing the number of flexible workspace that is being developed outside of the major cities, I think, in terms of where we are prepared to go to work, and I think that's going to drive a lot of thinking around real estate and its use.
Yeah.
Again,
Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, tell us please about how you manage the safety issues coming back for your clients in a co space, all the people working together more or less, using more or less the same kind of services all together. How you solve the issues regarding health and safety?
Well, of course, we had to adapt and we had to adjust our space to make sure we have everything according to the government regulations and the safety regulations, as I said earlier. I don't know if you saw behind me, but all people are using masks in the common areas. We extended the space, the distance between the chairs, sofas, couches, and so on to make sure it's 1.5 meters between them. We did take out in meeting rooms, something that Pat mentioned in the beginning, a meeting room of 10 maybe was right now transformed into a meeting room of 4 or 6. We pretty much really used a ruler and we measured the distance between one chair to the other to make sure we are according to the rules. We have hand sanitizer all over the place, tissues all over the place. We communicate a lot with our members on our platform, signs all over the place. And again, I think it's pretty much, it's nothing unusual. It's everything that I had to do and everything that any company did, again, to make sure employees are feeling safe. And this is the most important thing, the way they feel when they walk in. And of course, with guests that are coming in, measuring their temperature and making sure they sign a document in which they assume responsibility that they haven't been in contact with different people, they haven't been outside the country, and so on. We send the same documents to all our members. All our members the same way. They're assuming responsibility and they're aware of the fact that they shouldn't be here if they have fever, if they don't feel well. Again, I assume that's what happens in every company.
Okay. So
I'll give you an example of something we had to change quite dramatically. We used to have a happy hour every week, in which people would come out in our mid-lounge, whatever you see behind me, and it was 100, 200 people around happy hour, which was a great community event. People loved it. I mean, who wouldn't love to join, some food and free food and free drinks, right? So of course we had to adjust that. We can't call the people out. So what we did in many other places, we changed the concept a bit. So for now, we don't call them out, and we changed the structure, the food, and so on. So we take the goodies to their offices. So we continue the trend. We still have those, but we change the format. They don't come out. We take it to them. But it's part of the concept. It's part of the community, and people love it. So it's an example of adjustments that we had to do.
Yeah, you are right. Let's move a little bit what Paul mentioned about moving the workplaces, the offices near the home, and putting together this work from home to work from everywhere, or remote work. Mike, you mentioned. Emil, I think there is an opportunity here to talk about let's say workplace design revolution, or reintroducing the tried and tested solutions. So the last topic of our event, and to talk about urban development. If we move the offices,
I've heard you.
Please,
you know what it will be the problem. The problem will be the changing of density. Because, for example, in the office area in the past, so let's say few months, there was a lot of density. Now the density will change. Even in the center, the density will be changed. So we have to, for example, as city planners, we have to see what's happening, because in the past, the creative people from or the people from creative industries, they all work in this manner. They have a remote place. They work from the coffee shop. Now, maybe everybody will have to know to work like creative people. You see. So actually, maybe this displacement of density maybe will open up for new spaces, new public spaces. For example, in the past, you know, we have pandemics from the history. A lot of pandemics create different kind of spaces on the city. So in the past, for example, cholera or something like that, people try to face the pandemics, and they change some structure of the city. So I think maybe the urban planners, they think in this direction. For example, we have now Bucharest Architecture Annuala. We invite two curators, Danish curators, and they are obsessed of public space and how this kind of public space will be changed caused by pandemic. Because, for example, in Copenhagen, they already have some changes because of pandemic. So I think nice things will happen in the future because of pandemic.
Okay.
In the city.
Okay, so Anda, from your point of view as an architect, working with, let's say, big companies for office solutions, providing them office solutions, turnkey projects, how do you see this this future? Do you think that we all together will face a workplace design revolution, or more probably will let's say keep trying and testing let's say more classical solutions, well-known, well-established solutions?
As I said before, I think the efficiency will be one of the key factor in the future offices, and also adaptability, because in most of the companies now, of course, there are tremendous changes in behaviors of people, but their needs are the same. So even if people do not meet so often or don't meet at all in this period, their needs remain. So anything which is related to meeting rooms or closed areas or socializing areas, they will be also present in the future office, but they will be multifunctional. For example, the cafeteria will not be only the cafeteria, will be the space where you can have an informal meeting, or you can have an interview just to have a look and feel of the culture of the company. You can have a town hall. So I think most of the spaces will be transformed and they will be multifunctional in order to be more efficient. Otherwise, the cafeteria is empty outside the lunch areas. So it's a lost space, or it was a lost space until now. So all those gatherings, like Mike was talking about, people still need to be one to each other, to have events, to celebrate something in the office. So I think they will just be redefined in terms of maybe size or importance, but still they will be present in the future office. So again, anything which is adaptable, flexible, configurable, it will be the main key in a decision of any relocation. And I think that we will see in the future a lot of relocations, as Mike said, and people, actually companies would like to minimize their costs, and office space is a big cost. It's expensive by itself, so it has to be optimized. So companies definitely will look for options, even in spaces like co-working hubs or smaller, create their own, let's say, co-working hub, but it's only for their community and not open to other communities.
Anda, if tomorrow you will have, let's say, a first exploratory meeting with a potential big client, a big corporation, thousands of employees, let's say more or less working from home right now, what will be your first, let's say, advice to give them, or your first question to put them in order to start discussion with them and to start to understand them?
There are two options here. One, some of the clients are captive in their premises due to the contract that they signed, so they cannot move out. So one of the option is to sub-rent, and also the landlords should be understandable about this, because even if in the contract is not specified that they get sub-rent, now everyone has to adapt, also the tenants, but also the landlords. So this is one option, or the other option is definitely to minimize the space and to go to sharing desk. Now, for example, we have a relocation of one company, and they're already thinking of having 65 to 70% desks. So the rest is in sharing or on informal areas. So the second option is really to understand which are the people that need really allocated desks, and which are the people they can live on the sharing areas, because there is a difference. Not all the specialities in all the departments in a company can work the same or have the same needs. So in order to make a decision, really have to think twice and not to apply one recipe to everybody, because definitely it might not work.
Of course. Thank you, Anda. Tudor, the same question to you. Looking at the workplace design revolution, or keep using tried solutions, and your first advice for a potential client.
Well, as Anda mentioned, now we are going into a flexible revolution inside our office. I think this should be mirrored by a flexible real estate solution, and anyway, a responsive real estate contractual situation that you are in. I was very captured by Mike's and Paul dialogue before, when they spoke about this, the core as the headquarters of a company, and then some satellite offices that can be in serviced offices as the mind space. And I was willing to intervene, because we had a presentation to a client where we mapped his headquarters and his options in Bucharest. And on top of that, we mapped the postal codes of every one of his employees, and we put a layer of live input from traffic and from public transportation, and we mapped also the mind spaces positions. And this also up to Alexander regarding the data that we got from there. We managed to save for each person about 40 hours per month by moving a location, which, put that into perspective, it's almost 20 days a year out of commuting times. And that is, of course, for Pat and Paul that maybe are not familiar with Bucharest, the commuting is a mess here. Yeah. So that is one tool, Panorama, that we are using right now for this commuting with live traffic and live public transportations, that really puts a valuable data on the table for companies, and this is a tool that's very much requested from us. But coming back, of course, to the design revolution, I think, Anda, correct me if I'm wrong, but always as an architect, a design revolution, when I'm having a blank sheet of paper and I'm trying to sketch the first ideas for a thing, it's always a revolution that I have in mind. I think this is my approach, but of course the tried and tested ones are the experience based on which we build the new models. And I think my driving thoughts around the workplace have not changed. For me, the office is still a platform of interactions. We do not design these interactions. They are behaviors. We read them, we understand them, and we try to find the perfect environment for that interaction to take place. Nowadays, this working remotely situation is, of course, reshaping the real estate strategies. We're trying to find flexible options also in very fixed otherwise situation, and each company, of course, it's trying to find its own specific ratio of working remotely and then carefully apply it. And this means looking at business lines, looking at departments, team requirements, and individual needs. And those are some data that can come up as quantitative if you want, but if you filter them and you put away the emotional part and you really go to the pragmatic data, then you get a real structure, a palpable structure of what a workplace should be like. And this is a hybrid approach to this pure brick and mortar world, is to have this agile process overlapping human behaviors onto processes, and then you will get the square meters, and then you will get the financial values. But in the end, I found a nice article that said that great offices of the future will do exactly what the great offices of today already do. They will be important hubs for human elements and experience that technology cannot provide, like relationship, teamwork, chemistry, and culture.
Yeah, I will add this Tudor, that we have to remind us that the offices are built by people for the people, and as long as we will understand the needs that will remain and the needs that has to be reshuffled, let's say, or rethink, I think the future office will very quickly respond to the actual situation, and we as human beings are very adaptable. So I think already the pandemic showed us that if somebody wanted to separate us, they didn't succeed. And the communities were everywhere in the world, very close to each other. So this is something that we have to take in consideration, the community on a smaller scale, in an office.
Thank you very much. Alex, we are in the Balkans, Romanians, Greeks all together. How you see this idea of the office of tomorrow and communities?
I think we're living in extremely interesting times when we're talking about workplace trends and work trends. I'm really sorry that we're going through this disruption based on such a tragic event as the pandemic, and we have to always note that there are thousands of lives being lost. I think that the question between revolution or tried and tested solutions and your mentioning of the Balkans is very interesting. We are somewhere in the middle, if you ask me. We are not where most people believe we are. I'll give you an example. We are designing offices in the Middle East. Hot desking is something that cannot be accepted. You either have a desk, which is yours, and you can put the family pictures there. If you tell somebody that they will not have their own desk, it's like killing them. It's a completely different situation. On the other hand, you're talking about an area where things are changing much faster than in Romania or in Greece. So you walk the streets of UAE and you see thousands of electric cars. Autonomous driving cars will be much faster there, and I have to agree with Emil that the discussion about the urban development is a very important one that will have to open up soon, because the density will affect in a system society and how we live. It will affect retail. It will affect mobility. Mobility will affect back how we move from our house to the office. Where is the office? And so on. So we are going through a change which we are seeing now the tip of the iceberg. That is our belief as Styrix's group. So I don't believe in revolutions. And I don't believe in tried and tested solutions. So I'm somewhere in the middle. I like what...
Thank you, Alex. You don't believe in revolutions, but maybe you believe in evolution. So what about speaking with Pat about workplace evolutionaries? I think it's a fantastic link here. And so, Pat, right now I will make you a presenter in order to share again your screen and to talk a little bit about your workplace evolutionaries initiative project. So please try to. Okay, great. Now we can see your screen.
You can. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Okay, well, we, the Workplace Evolutionaries, is a global community of practice that focuses on workplace as a profession and as a tool around the globe. We are a subset of IFMA, so IFMA has chapters and they have councils which are vertical market oriented. But our communities of practice center around very big topics, ideas like sustainability. You know, it is not geographically based. It's not a vertical market, but it cuts across all of these things. So sustainability, technology, workplace, you know, these are all big ideas. And so the mission of this community is to understand and accelerate workplace innovation and consciousness. And our tagline is, we're changing the world one workplace at a time. And we've said it a couple times here that you know, some of the things that are happening, these are things that were happening very slowly anyway. I mean, we've been preaching about remote work for at least 15 years, but now its time has come and it is upon us. So so a little bit big view of we now, I just did some analytics yesterday, and we now have over 1,000 members worldwide. We're the largest community of practice centered around workplace in the world. We're IFMA's largest community of practice and the second largest component, meaning of all their chapters or councils or communities of practice, we're number 2. We have members from 37 different countries. 25% of those members are outside of the US, I'm delighted to say. And we have always had a very strong opinion about being interdisciplinary. So we have members who are architects and designers and technologists and strategists and human resource people, because we really feel that at this point in time in particular, having a cross-functional point of view is very, very important. We have a hub structure. So we have a couple of leaders who help us with the different continents. So Martin Rupi, who's out of Vienna, Austria, is our We Hub leader for Europe. And we have 10 hubs currently in the EMEA. We have about 17 in North America, and we have one based in Hong Kong. And so this has to do with, let's see if I can get to an advance. Just does not want to. So strange. Anyway, so we have this global community and we want this global perspective. But what we found, and this was quite organic in terms of the way that we has grown, is that there was so much excitement around the concept of workplace as a profession in its own right, that people wanted to take it down to the local level. So sort of organically, our hubs started springing up, where people, our passionistas around workplace can meet and gather and hold events and webinars and things that are either specific and local to the area or just sharing knowledge, around the world. I do not know why I am stuck here.
Pat, anyhow, you can tell us about your educational program. You have a fantastic workplace management program.
Yeah, so there's several benefits or value, we try to have member value. And so we do monthly webinars, and we have speakers from all over the world that give us various topics related to workplace to help educate and inform. We publish every other month. We have an expert in global workplace analytics who's reading and researching the most current information that's coming out and summarizing that into sort of an executive summary. You can say, okay, over the last couple of months, who's published what, and what is the, what's the gist of the research with hot links, if you want to go deeper. And then we have what we call We Learn, which is a oh, here we go. Here's your hub leaders. Here's hub. Here's our We Know, our research, our work from home survey. If you go onto our website, there's a specific area that we call We Rise that we've been gathering all the information about COVID and putting it there so it's easy for people to find. Our We Brief, as we said, which is the executive summary document about the latest research in workplace. The monthly webinars, and then we have our We Learn series, which is new, and it's a workplace management program. And it's the first comprehensive curriculum around this broad topic of workplace management that we're talking about. It's a certificate of completion program. It's under the IFMA umbrella. There are 4 modules. Each module has 3 online webinars and 1, we've changed this now. It used to be an in-person workshop. Now it's a virtual workshop. And 2 of the industry thought leaders, Andrew Mawson of Advanced Workplace Associates and Chris Hood, were instrumental in really developing this curriculum and presenting it. And so the modules include an introduction to workplace management, client management, then it moves on to the art and science of change management, which is, very important. The 3rd module has to do with capacity, project, and risk management. And the 4th module is about performance management. And then how do you, all of this learning, how do we apply it so that you can really take it back into your, your areas of practice. So, we'll make sure that you get a link if you'd like to read more about it. There's a great brochure that I can send to Christian, to send out. But it's been a very, very compelling and interesting curriculum for us. And to become a WE member, there's several different things. If you're an RICS member already, you can join WE for $99 for the whole year. If you are if you're an IFMA member, the same thing. If you're a student and you join IFMA for $10, you can join WE for free. So there's several different programs depending on where you are and what your needs are. And it's primarily a volunteer-driven organization. So we have just wonderful people from the colleagues from the community who are developing and running and managing these different programs. And then we are underwritten by a number of different sponsors. And we would love to help develop a WE hub in Romania. And it's really an extension of this conversation with such great thought leadership that's happening and this high level of interest, and how we can raise the bar. You know, who is going to take the lead in this conversation and orchestrating what now really will need to happen in the workplace.
Thank you very much, Pat, and I can assure you that ROWMF is here to support you, and together with all our partners, all our professionals, all our members, we are committed to develop this workplace management initiative and to discuss more about workplace management as a profession, as a domain, as a very important let's say part of our lives. If we're talking about working from home, working from everywhere, or working remotely, working from the office. So we are at the end of our event. I would like to thank you all. Before ending, just 1 minute, if you can make it in 1 minute, please give one piece of advice or one idea to energize our audience, our professionals, because at the end of the day, such an event, it's about, let's say, people. It's about person-to-person relations, contacts, and so on. Even if we are virtual here all together, so please, give to our audience, give to our professionals, facilities managers, architects, property managers, professionals in workplace management, HR, and so on, one piece of advice or an idea to energize them during these times. I will start with Paul, please.
Wow, thank you. Firstly, fantastic. You named all those different professions, so isn't that great that we're all working collaboratively and together and recognizing that. But I you know what, I think the big point I'd make is everybody on this call is a leader and has a responsibility to lead and demonstrate that value, and I think that's the big opportunity for the profession to really position who we are and what we do globally, to show governments and to show business, and that's really where we are. You know, people here are leaders and add huge value. So let's go out and show that and be confident about that, because you know, I think that's maybe where we've struggled. It's just the confidence to show the value. So I think that's what we're seeing, and that's what we want to see more of.
Thank you very much, Paul. Alex.
Thank you again for the opportunity. If I need to wrap up in 2 minutes with one advice, it would be that the pandemic has taught us one thing or two. One is act fast, act now, don't wait. And the second thing is trust the experts. Don't listen to different voices and different articles. Everybody knows some things, but when you talk about workplace, when you talk about workplace design, ask the experts, any experts, but ask the experts. Ask people who know, who have the experience and can lead you with a better, let's say, percentage of success to the new tomorrow. That's my advice.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alex. Mike, your advice or your energizing idea.
Well, look, it's been obviously it's been challenging for everybody. We gotta stay positive. We gotta take the best out of it. There are a lot of advantages. No, I wouldn't say advantages. A lot of good things that that happen as a result of this period. Like, for example, things that we mentioned here. We all learned that we can work from home, flexibility, technology that helps, and so on. So it's completely changing the workplace. But we got to take the best out of it and to stay positive and to really implement those good things that are going to be the result, the outcome of this period.
Thank you very much, Mike. Hope to organize our next event in MindSpace on MindSpace premises. Thank you.
Looking forward.
We are here, no problem. Even by the way, just a quick note. Even online events, we had companies, members or not, just they organized their online events from here. Just because it was the setup was just I guess better than home or any other places, so it's possible.
Thank you.
I'm waiting for you guys.
Thank you, Tudor. Your great idea to energize us.
I liked Alexander's Ask the Expert. I really felt like being part of a panel of experts right here. So my thought is that on workplace strategy, we of course encourage everyone to distill, to separate the emotional decision from the pragmatic one. Of course, use the relevant data by looking at your employees, at their behaviors, at your whole company, add that vision, add that platform of interaction, as I like to call it, and make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Tudor. Emil?
Well, first I have to say I'm very honored to be in this panel. It's a nice event, very nice people. And I think in the end we have to return to the people. Not technology, not data, but return to the people. And that's why I said maybe after a year or maybe now, we will be very melancholic about pandemics or COVID. Because do you remember Bucharest 2 months ago? Nobody on the streets, beautiful streets, beautiful nights. So, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, Anda,
Yes,
please energize us.
I do agree that everybody has a very strong point of view. I want Alexander to say, yes, ask the experts, but be humble enough to listen to the people, the voice of the people in the company, and then let the experts, again, do their works. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we started with Pat. We'll end our event with Pat. Thank you, Pat. That you are with us. So your just one brilliant idea or advice to professionals, facilities managers, workplace managers, architects.
Well, first of all, I would say there's never been a better time to be in our profession. That workplace is right on, no matter if you're coming at it from the technical side or the architecture and design side, the people side, human resource. It's really, our time has come, and the responsibilities and what we're going to be able to accomplish has never been greater. So there's a very unique opportunity to lead the future of work. And you know what that really means, tying it to the people part, is we're helping people work at the best and be positive contributors to the global community, and in turn help our companies achieve their goals. So I really like the idea of trusting the experts, and I would add on to that to engage with these resources that are available to you. ROWMF is amazing. RICS has amazing programs and knowledge, and IFMA and we, the network of people that you can meet and connect with and network with is is just unbelievable. So these organizations add so much value. And then I would say, lastly, always remember to ask, what problem are you trying to solve? Because that will drive, you know, what you do, how you do it, and it will also change over time. So there's no, you know, as we're going through these iterations, especially through COVID, what problem are we trying to solve now? And then looking down the line, and what problem we'll be trying to solve in the next round, and visioning and making sure that we're on a path to flourish and contribute in a positive way to our global community.
Thank you very much, Pat. It's a fantastic finish for our 2 days event. I'm looking forward to see you all in a real life, face-to-face, person-to-person event. I'm looking forward to see you in more educational programs, events here in Romania or everywhere in the world, because we are, or we have to be a strong community, because we are talking about workplace management, we are talking about workplace managers, even if they are architects or facilities managers or human resources professionals. Thank you very much for all. I would like to thanks again our partners, Gold Partner Workspace Studio, Herman Miller, authorized accredited partner in Romania, our silver partners, Green Forest and Sorantis, of course, supported partners for our event, RICS and the Archibald Solution Center Romania, and the associations, the organizations we work with for this event, the Order of Architects in Romania, Bucharest branch, and the Ergonomics and Workplace Management Society. I would like to thank you all, our attendees, our panelists, and hope to keep safe and see you in our face-to-face event. All the best.
It was such a
Christian.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
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 Bye.